Here we are live. 3, 2, 1. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our 52nd, which by my calculation makes it 1 year. 1 year of doing security on the N30 show, on the N30 network, whatever you want to call it. But 52 weeks we have been talking about security. Tom.
Seems like only yesterday we were telling you to stop using password as your password.
It does feel like yesterday. Like it really does. It feels like it's just like second nature to us. Okay, we have this second thing. We talk about it. We've gotten really good press. Well, not like press, but look who we had on. We had LastPass. We had YubiKey. Twice, I think, we had them on.
Mm-hmm.
We've had, I mean, we had a lot of questions. People are sending us questions. None recently, so start sending us some more questions. Remember, we're asking questions online.
We've had great listeners. I ran into a couple listeners actually at DerbyCon, which was pretty interesting, a pretty fantastic experience, and kind of something you hope for as a podcaster, but not something you ever really expect.
I mean, my friends listen, and that's always weird to say that my friends are listening, and they say, oh, can you cover this on the show, or did you cover this? Because a lot of my friends are a few weeks behind. And that's the good thing I like about this show, is sometimes we talk about timely things, but most of the time, if you listen to it 3 weeks later, it's still pretty relevant compared to a news show where 3 weeks is already old news.
Yeah.
So hopefully we get another. I'll say that our most popular show is still TrueCrypt.
Yes, by far.
By far is still TrueCrypt. People are still interested. And at least I'm hearing on Twitter, the good and the bad. Oh, I can't use it. Every once in a while, we'll get somebody to email us and says, "How could we can't use TrueCrypt?" And we tell them you can, just not the newest version.
Right. It surprises me how many people are out there saying that TrueCrypt is compromised, or it's part of a botnet, or it's out to steal stuff from you, and that's simply not the case. Even the creator on the site said, well, we think the creator of TrueCrypt, even he said on the site, hey, look, this may have security vulnerabilities in it that won't be fixed because it's not under development anymore.
Yeah, and
it's not a guaranteed thing. It may, anything may have a security vulnerability, but if one gets found, it's not going to be fixed. And that's the real red flag, that if somebody owns TrueCrypt and breaks it, there's going to be no one left to fix it.
So, I mean, we had that. I mean, we're still talking about the NSA and stealing our privacy and the goods and the bad and everything else from there. But yeah, in the whole last year, I feel like we've covered a lot, and unfortunately today we don't have any like real breaking security news, which is never a bad thing.
Yeah, I'm trying to think who did someone get hacked? Did anyone get hacked this time around?
I mean, I'm sure there's something. The only thing I can think of, and it's not really relevant, is Currency, which is the the anti-Apple merchants' way of doing NFC payments, got a flood of traffic to something that wasn't ready yet, and they're claiming accounts got hacked, but I don't know who has an account with the service that's not ready yet.
Yeah.
So, I mean, other than that, and we're seeing people, and the other thing I was seeing is people are asking me, oh, what can I do to beef up my security? And that's always a good thing. And I take it as an opportunity to say, hey, look, listen to the podcast. Always listen to the podcast. Listen to us at double speed. You'll get done in half the time. That's always a good suggestion.
I talk an awful lot, so double speed, you're not going to be missing much.
So, I think if you go on Pocket Cast, 1.8 is the best speed, because it's not exactly double speed, but it's fast enough that it doesn't sound chipmunkish. So, well, the only thing I have this week, and it's been taking a lot of my time, is a contest that my students are doing called PICO, P-I-C-O, like the unit of measurement, CTF.com. It's a capture the flag type game, which was new to me. But basically, they're asking you to solve security questions, and it's not a hardcore crazy security. It's, you know what, for the most part, it's general knowledge. It's, are you really a whiz at the computer? If so, try this, because it does have an expectation that you know how to program a little bit. It does have an expectation that you know how to Google a lot. And it does say solve it any way you can. And some of these questions are just crazy difficult, and some of them are duh, I should have known this. So I mean, my question to Tom is, Tom initially said, "Oh, I love these things," and he's right. This is a lot of fun.
Yeah, and it's, if you've never heard of, in security terms, capture the flag, it's not like that game you were playing as kids and you run around your grandmother's backyard and you're running around trying to hide from people and steal stuff. It's not that. And it's not the first-person shooter variety where you're actually literally trying to take a flag out of the enemy base and return it to your base to score some awesome points while blowing up everything in sight. That's pretty rad, but this is a little different. These flags are digital, and they're scattered all over a virtualized environment. So you log in, and there's computers. It's just a virtual environment. Sometimes they look like, a fake company set up. Sometimes they're websites or web services. Other times they're email servers with a default username and password. And there's like either text strings or files or other things that you collect and you turn into your flag server. And the flag server says, yeah, I know about this one. This is good. Here's some points. Or it says, no, that's not a flag. Keep trying. And you have to hack, you have to crack passwords, you have to break into files, you have to deconstruct file types and do like legit hacking stuff, but you're not hurting anyone because it's all a game. And it's really fantastic because it allows you to get hands-on experience with actually hacking something, with hacking a company or a website or a specific type of software without actually damaging anything, or the threat of going to jail for a lot of years. It's probably the biggest, greatest thing you can do to actually learn how to hack is to get involved in these CTF matches.
And we say hacker, don't think of it as a derogatory term for someone who's doing something malicious.
Security professional.
Security professional. I mean, it's almost like if somebody says, I'm an expert at the computer, you may want to throw them some of these problems here because it requires you to know everything. How good is your Google searching skills? And I got embarrassed today when there was this Towers of Hanoi problem that had an error, and you had to find the flag, and it was somewhere in it. It said you had to multiply the first 39 prime numbers. And I was lost. I could not figure this out. And one of my students came up to me. He's like, this is what it is. I said, how did you figure that out? He goes, hey, you look at the code, it's there. So we spent like 45 minutes trying to rewrite the code to multiply the first 39 prime numbers. One of my students opens up Wolfram Alpha and types in, what is the sum of the first 39 numbers multiplied? And he got it, and I'm thinking to myself, I just spent 45 minutes writing the code. He opens up Wolfram Alpha and types it in, and I didn't even think about that. And it's one of the
just like anything big or important in engineering, computers, really any field whatsoever. It's as much creating your own stuff as it is standing on the shoulders of giants. And let's be real, we wouldn't be here today in modern society if we all just created stuff from scratch all the time. I did not collect the gold and the copper that went into making this computer. I didn't mold the keys by hand for this keyboard. We all stand on the shoulders of giants. And an important thing to learn, not in just hacking or security or using computers, but in life as well, is it's important to know when to stand on shoulders of giants and when to go build it yourself. And frankly, if you can get away with using someone else's work, that's not plagiarizing them. Don't get me wrong. I'm not, saying you should go out and plagiarize someone. But if you can use tools that others have built, do it. Save yourself time, effort, energy, and, especially with something like Wolfram Alpha, there's been a lot of care and love put into that product. It's going to be good.
Fun fact, I touched Stephen Wolfram's backpack. He was at a hackathon, and it was really late at night, and I wasn't participating, but I was trying to go home, and his backpack was there. So I looked all over the building for it. Could not find him. So my takeaway is that my students got his help to write a award-winning program, and all I got was to touch his backpack, to move it out of the way so I can keep his seat warm.
So what other kind of fun hacking challenges have you been up to?
Well, so I'm looking at this, and I'm the teacher. So what I did is I said, you know what, this is fun. I have a feeling. Now, the comical thing is, this is for middle school to high school levels, 6th to 12th grade, with the focus on being 10th to 12th grade. And my 10th to 12th graders are having, let's just say they're having a lot of trouble. And yes, you can be in college and you can do it, but you can't win a prize. So the top 100 teams win free T-shirts, and the top 10 teams win a considerable amount of money. The top 3 teams, I think, win $6,000, $4,000, $2,000, and a free trip to Carnegie Mellon for a college visit. So there's a lot of money at stake. And if you don't understand why they're doing this, it's sponsored by Carnegie Mellon and the NSA. They're trying to find people who can do this for a living, and then they're obviously going to actively recruit them, which is not necessarily a bad thing. As much as we rail about the government and snooping and everything else, working for the government is not necessarily a bad thing.
Oh, yeah. No, and we rail against the FBI and the NSA all day long, but, let's get real, let's get practical for just a minute. I'm going to take off my tinfoil hat. I'm going to take off my government-hating communist hat. There are other countries that aren't necessarily friends with us. There are some people and groups of people that hate America, or people in America, or Christians, or Muslims, or, pick a group. People hate each other, right? There are some people that hate other people, and they'll do bad things to them. Amongst those bad things are hacking, are cyber warfare. They're not just buzzwords. This stuff actually happens. Breaking into other companies, stealing intellectual property. Corporate espionage is huge. Government espionage is huger. We can't just say, hey, the NSA is bad, the FBI is bad, let's take away all their computers forever. No. There are pieces of the government that are recruiting hackers, specifically with the intent of defending, of counter-hacking and destroying, opposing teams, and of beefing up security on our side. And we need these people. Do we necessarily, need the government operating in all the ways it is? Not necessarily. But do we expect them to protect us? Yeah. And protecting us on the internet is no different than, protecting our borders or protecting us with the military. There's just less bullets and more packets. And frankly, there's probably more packets flying around than bullets.
And look at it this way. As much as we both have we call them corporate stooge jobs. We both have corporate stooge jobs. Me, probably more and I'm a government employee. But it's, again, a job is a job, and if it pays well, it gives you the benefits, you have a comfortable life. As long as you're happy, that's what you want. The pursuit of happiness. So if the NSA, the FBI, the CIA, the Army, the Navy, the branches of government want you and are recruiting you to do something that you love to do, why not work for them?
Yeah, it's all about what you want to do, and can you sleep at night? Are you comfortable doing what you're doing? If the NSA hired me, and they wouldn't because I'm not that good, but if they hired me and they said, Tom, we want you to hack these new firewalls that we're thinking about putting in all of our government offices. We want you to try to break into them and try to destroy them with all of your might so we can make sure we're safe. I would gladly do that job. I would gladly help out in that way because I think that's important. I think that's a noble thing to do. I think it's necessary, and frankly, I think it would pay well as well. But governments recruit hackers. It happens, and recruiting them young, recruiting them early, right out of high school, especially if you can get a full ride into college through a government-sponsored program.
Well, not even that. What happens? You're a senior. Imagine you're a senior in high school and you get approached by the government, by the NSA, by the CIA, by whomever, and say, "Hey, look, we want to hire you. We want to pay you $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 a year, or whatever their rates are. We want to give you a full pension, government pension. We want to give you health care because you're that good." That's a great thing.
Yeah. And it's starting younger and younger. I was actually talking to a middle schooler who was job shadowing, and I said, "Hey, so what are you into? What do you like?" He was asking all these really technical questions, and it blew me away how knowledgeable he was. I mean, this guy was smart. He said, "Well, the thing I'm really interested in right now is I just joined this thing called the Cyber Patriots, which is a government-run thing to find and train cyber warriors for America to help defend and protect the U.S. And we're going to be doing this thing. We already did this thing, and then there's a CTF thing coming up in a month or two." And I was just blown away. I didn't know that the program started that young. That's pretty impressive. And I mean, on one hand, you can be horrified and say, "Oh, wow, they're turning everyone into child warriors." No. We're not handing kids guns. The computers aren't going to blow up comically in their faces or anything. We're teaching people about cybersecurity, and frankly, starting young is the best way to ingrain cybersecurity into kids, into people of all ages. If you start young, if you learn young, you'll continue learning when you're older.
I mean, and I'm going through these problems, and they start with low-point problems, and it says, this hex code, the computer spit out a hex code and can only read the decimal code. What do you think it is? And the hint there is that you try going hex to decimal, and that causes you to start searching. And obviously, it's the first problem to get your just to get you started, so it's super easy. But then they have something that blew me away. It was called the Endian game. An Endian is sort of like how to put numbers on the stack, and they gave you the Wikipedia article. They gave you everything you needed, and you had to read it. The problem was it wasn't enough information. So I'm sitting there. I'm trying to figure out. It's in C code, and my C is a little rusty. I mean, that's the best way to put it. And I spent an hour on it. Then I realized that I was using the wrong Endian code. I was using the big Endian, not the little Endian. But it caused me to look up on Wikipedia. It caused me to learn something new. It caused me to learn this esoteric technology that will never be used again. But I now know, other than that, now there's another problem with assembly. I now know there's two competing standards of assembly code. One used by everyone, and the other one used by AT&T. And of course the one that they use is AT&T.
Just like everything else in life. There's one that the world uses, and then AT&T does something completely bonkers.
And my friend, and another aside story is my friend helped me wire my house for Ethernet, and we had to choose a standard. And apparently, he made up his mind that the AT&T standard was good. So now my RJ45s are wired in the AT&T standard, which is not funny, but that's
now,
what it is.
To a computer. The computer doesn't care what your Ethernet is wired as long as it's the same on both ends. It doesn't care. It can be wired in any standard as long as the pins line up. It's all about being human readable and consistent.
And I mean, we're looking at one shell. If you never knew what command line was, this is slightly a hard way. I mean, they throw you right into it with some assumptions, but they help you out, and that's great. And apparently this Pico CTF contest has a help section where you ask people questions. It's almost like a real-time chat, and people will try and guide you to the right answer. I don't have that because I'm considered a teacher, or I am a teacher for my class, so I don't get that luxury. My goal was to beat everyone and to say that I'm the master at this, but turns out I'm not really good at this, as good as I thought I would be.
I would stress that anyone with a casual interest in pen testing or penetration testing, or a casual interest in hacking or learning, wanting to go deeper into security and get your hands dirty and start tearing apart the engine. Anyone who likes to tinker, anyone who likes to just dive in and do it, start looking for CTFs. There's tons of them out there that cater to any and all skill sets. Now, I am in no way an expert hacker at all. I know some stuff, I can use some tools, and that's really about it. I don't think I'm anything really truly special. I am at the middle level or below the middle level at best. But I've been to some CTFs, and I've been right in the middle on the scoreboard. And that's saying something, right? I knew a little bit. I was able to get somewhere, and it was a lot of fun, and I taught myself some new stuff, and I unlocked new skills because of it. So if you're interested, go out and check out Pico CTF. I'm sure they'll have another one here soon. Look on Google, try to find other CTFs, find hacker groups that put these on. It's a lot of fun.
So Pico has I will say this: if you're a parent, I hate to say dad with a young male child, I hate to say that, but if you're a parent and you have a child who's interested in the computer and you have some knowledge, so you don't look like a complete idiot, and you can work with them, this is a great bonding time. Even if you don't participate in the contest, they have the prompts, they have the write-ups. If you do last year's, you have the write-ups. They tell you the answer. So if you get really frustrated, the answer is there. So you learn, and then you do all those problems, and then when this one's over, you do all these problems. And they have them, because they're virtual, they can just flip a switch and turn more on. The hardest part is just coming up with the questions. So, and once you get the hang of it, you just keep on doing the same thing over and over again. And you know what? I wouldn't be surprised that as a teenager, you keep on doing this, and you go to college and you do this, you'll have a job. You'll have a good job, whether it's for the government or for a private firm or whatever it is. But we keep on saying security's not getting any easier. It's only getting harder, and it will never end. You have basically have a job for life.
And think about it. Look at the news today. Look at the news over the past couple months. We've had credit card breaches. We've had pretty public identity thefts. We've had malware attacks. We've had crypto locker. Security and security issues are here to stay. They're not going to go away, and the job market is only going to get bigger as more companies and people start to care about security. If there's a company out there who doesn't care about security today, I can guarantee you they will later. I can guarantee you if you're a high school student, if you're a current college student, if you're interested in this stuff, start picking up security. If not like the super hardcore stuff, you're listening to the show, obviously. Go listen to Steve Gibson's Security Now. Go follow Kevin Mitnick on Twitter. Go look up stuff on Iron Geek. Iron Geek is a fantastic resource with a bunch of security presentations from all kinds of conferences. Click on stuff that sounds ridiculous and rad, and just start learning stuff from actual people in the security industry, because I gotta say, this job market, it's big right now. It's going to get so much bigger in the future. If you're at all concerned about finding a job in security, don't be. It's big. Just get the skills, get out there, and write some stuff. Make yourself public.
Like I said, it's only like you said, like I said, it's only getting bigger. And if you're willing, if the government wants you, and you don't mind working for the government, you have a job for life. I mean, I hate to say that, but yes. Remember, the government has never laid off anybody.
And remember, I mean, we've still got people hacking the U.S. all the time. So it's not like there's any shortage of things to do or things to defend against or things to combat. The FBI has an outstanding cybersecurity team, a really top-notch one. Like the FBI and the Secret Service can contact businesses and say, hey, you've been hacked. You don't know it yet, but you've been totally owned. Here's how we're going to help you fix it. And that's impressive. That's a public service is what that is. That's a good thing. Now, it's not good that the company had to be told by a government agency that they've been hacked, but, it's a good thing that somebody told them.
So, okay. Yes, we're light on security this week. Nothing major happened, which is always a good thing. But, and I really just want to end the show with, if you have time, you have a few hours to kill, and you don't feel like playing Candy Crush, and you want a challenge, I'm telling you, go try this. Pico, P-I-C-O, CTF.com. Register. I guess you have to register. You won't win any prizes because you're probably, unless you're in high school. If you're in high school, or you have to be in the U.S., if you're in high school, go for it. See how far you can get. By any means, the idea is to solve the problems by any means necessary that's legal. So go Google search it. Use Wolfram Alpha. Use any of the tools at your disposal, as long as you don't violate their terms of service, which is don't hack our site.
Right.
You're pretty much good.
The best part about CTFs is it's not a book test. It's not a Scantron. It's not anything dumb like that forces you into arbitrary constraints and says, no, you can't use your friends, and you can't use the internet, and you can't have a book. No, the CTF says, hey, here's an environment, here's a sandbox, we want you to hack all these machines inside the sandbox. Have at it. There's no rules, there's no arbitration, there's no teacher or principal standing behind your back making sure you don't cheat off one another. This is real-world problem solving. And real-world problem solving happens on the internet. It happens with research, with books, with people, with, I don't want to say cheating off each other, but collaborating with each other. This is probably the best real-world problem solving in the tech industry that you can get. And it's a lot of fun.
So, if that's it, Tom, I don't have anything else.
That's all I've got.
And we're almost out of time, which is surprising. But anyway, so that's all we've got. So we'll see you next week.
See you guys.
Bye.